How's the royal family? I pray that everyone is doing well. Well, my royal family, this is one of these long videos. This is a popcorn video. And this shit is utterly ridiculous. So, this sister here, her name is Corinda Welch. And she got arrested for a traffic stop, and it was discovered that her license was suspended, and she said that she was not aware of it. And based on my research, there was a letter sent out saying that her license was suspended, but it was sent to an old address. Those things happen, and to me, I think it's ridiculous to arrest someone on suspended license, but they do what they do. So our queen here is pregnant, and the correctional officer beat the living hell out of a pregnant woman in jail. And I'm just gonna play these series of videos. And wow. One thing that I do want to say, the correctional officer, which was a female, that beat the hell out of her, I could not find her mugshot. I'll leave it right there. So anyway, my royal family, here we go.
Mother, who says she was beaten by a corrections officer in the Duval County Jail, says now that she is suing. Her attorney tells News4Jax this case could end up in federal court. Corinda Welch is being represented by well-known civil rights attorney Benjamin Crump. He's been involved in several prominent cases, including Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, and Tamir Rice. News4Jax reporter Eric Avanier joins us live after sitting down with Welch and her attorney. Eric.
Well, in a matter of 4 days, this case has gained national attention thanks to social media. This, of course, due to the shock of hearing that a pregnant woman could be beaten inside of a jail while handcuffed and shackled. Attorney Crump says he's taking this case because he wants to prevent future cases of jailhouse brutality.
It all began as a July 5th announcement from JSO.
The corrections officer was arrested today, a short time ago.
36-year-old Corinda Welch is the victim in this story. Friday, June 29th, police say Welch was handcuffed and shackled when she was repeatedly punched and pepper sprayed by now former corrections officer Catherine Thompson. After Welch was released from jail, she contacted well-known civil rights attorney Benjamin Crump.
I feel like a great burden has been released off of me because he's so knowledgeable.
Crump says people hear about police and jailhouse brutality and sometimes it gets overlooked by mainstream media, but he says the details about what happened to Welch spread on social media.
I'm not surprised that people in New York, people in Los Angeles, people all over the country are talking about this matter.
A matter that, according to Crump, is not just a local issue of concern.
You have to make it relatable to everybody in the Jacksonville community, everybody across the country.
Although Welch says she was told by investigators that the beating happened in a room with no camera, Crump is requesting JSO release footage from any cameras that may shed light on the interaction between Welch and Thompson. JSO does its own investigation on personnel, and Crump says that's part of the problem in this case.
You need some cloak of independency that makes not only you feel that you're being held accountable, but the public feels you're being held accountable.
Now, Crump and his legal team have submitted a letter to Attorney General Jeff Sessions to see if the Justice Department will launch a federal investigation into this case because they want to find out if Welch's civil rights had been violated. And we may know by tomorrow afternoon if such an investigation is granted. Reporting live from outside the Duval County Jail, Eric Avanier, Channel.
All right, my royal family. So, I'm not going to play that one yet. So let's hear what Miss Welch has to say.
corrections officer is facing charges after she allegedly beat a shackled woman last week. The story was corroborated by other employees at the Duval County Jail.
Hey, Lindsay. Yes.
Corinda Welch is at her Oakleaf Plantation home with her 3-year-old Thursday. But about a week ago, she says she was arrested in front of him for driving with a suspended license, which she says she wasn't aware of. The worst part, though, she says, didn't occur until she was being booked into jail.
This is where the hell started.
She admits she didn't get along with corrections officer Catherine Thompson. The two had words with each other multiple times.
We went back and forth the entire night.
But then Thompson put Welch in 4-point restraints, which Under Sheriff Pat Ivey describes like
Handcuffs and leg shackles and them attached with a chain.
By the time I could ask her to loosen up those shackles, she punched me dead in my forehead, closed fist. And I was just in shock that was happening to me. So I fell, I was back on my back at this point, still shackled up very tight. She grabbed both my head with both her hands and slammed the left side of my head, which is still sore, into the concrete wall, and she just kept punching me.
Welch says throughout the ordeal, her main concern was she's in her first trimester of pregnancy. JSO says Thompson's coworkers came forward about the incident. On Thursday, she was fired and arrested, charged with battery and official misconduct, a felony. Thompson had been on the job 14 months as a probationary hire, so she doesn't have any employee protections. Lindsay Kilbride, 89.9 WJCT News.
All right, my royal family. So now, we're going to listen to this press conference and hear what they have to say. Jacksonville Sheriff. So, the audio is a bit low, so I got everything cranked up as high as I can get it. Forgive me, my royal family.
Good afternoon. We're here to discuss one case and one case only. This would be the arrest of Corrections Officer Catherine E. Thompson, a 14-month veteran with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. She's being arrested from an incident that stems back on the 29th of June. On that date, an individual was arrested for driving while license suspended or revoked. That individual was arrested and transported to the PTDF. Upon arrival, that arrestee came in contact with Officer Thompson. They then at some point exchanged some verbal disparaging comments between each other. She was, at some point, the arrestee was placed in 4-point restraints. And what that is handcuffs and leg shackles and them attached with a chain. While being in 4-point restraints, the arrestee said something to the corrections officer that infuriated her, and the corrections officer then struck the arrestee in the face, knocking her to the ground. She then proceeded to follow her to the ground and struck her multiple more times. So, in response to that, the corrections officer was arrested today, a short time ago, and charged with official misconduct, which stems from she wrote a report after the fact and was, what we believe, not honest in her interpretation of the original incident, and also charged with battery. Official misconduct is a third-degree felony. The battery is a first-degree misdemeanor. This individual, when I said that she had been only an employee for 14 months, she's on probation until she reaches 18 months. So she has been terminated, as I've described several times in the past. If you are on probation, you do not have some of the protections that the other employees do that are full-time and not on probation. So therefore, due to this arrest, she is fired without the protection. So we can just terminate her without any other proceedings administratively. So with that being said, I will take any questions.
Sheriff, can you tell us exactly where they were when this confrontation began?
In the jail. They're actually already inside they go into an intake area just beyond the intake area. There's a long detailed RTR report. I have not personally read it, the detectives that did, but I think it just gave some justification to her ability to strike the arrestee, which was not the case.
So was she hitting with a fist or with an instrument?
Fist. Yeah, there is mention in there, so sometime during that incident, an aggravator in that would be that pepper spray was then deployed on the arrestee who was handcuffed and shackled. I have no idea about the specifics of the comments.
Do you know if there were racial
Is that what you just asked?
No, to the victim.
I don't know of any of the specific comments that were made. Either way, the exchange.
And how many witnesses were there in the incident?
There were at least a sergeant and another CO.
Did any of them?
Yes, absolutely they did. So if you recall, we had another case. I think our last arrest was a very similar situation. The COs are doing a good job. They know what's right. They know how they're trained. They know what's in the confines of the law and the policy. And they came forward and said that this had occurred. That was our mechanism being notified, not the arrestee.
So at this point, 7 months in, how close to tally of employees / sworn officers were arrested?
So four this year, 2018. I have no idea. No, so actually we had to reach out to her. She had already been released. So remember, the mechanism of our notification was other COs, employees that witnessed the inappropriate behavior. Integrity then started the investigation and then found a way to locate her because we had some issues with an address, and brought her in then after she had already been released to verify what we were told by the witness COs.
Kind of medical treatment that she required. I mean, it sounds like she doesn't think you can transport her.
No, she didn't need to be transported, but she did. If I haven't read the arrest booking report. I read a different thing we put together for me to go over the details. It says that she did have some scrapes and some abrasions.
Is there any video that would have?
Of the initial contact being where if the what infuriated the CO, no. Part of the other, I believe there may be some.
Is that public?
It depends upon where it is in the jail, but we'd have to look at that. If it's a security risk or not.
So the incident happened the 29th of August?
I believe same day. When was it reported? Same day. Yes, the original arrestee.
Is that common for someone to be arrested for driving
I haven't looked into the circumstances surrounding her arrest. It kind of depends. You can be arrested for one failure to pay of a traffic fine, and an officer most often will just give you a citation and say go on your way, that you need to go to court. But there are several times where individuals have multiple DUIs or they're a habitual traffic violator. I'm not saying that's the case with this individual, but that there are multiple. They've already shown the propensity that they won't even go to a court date, and it kind of leaves the officer no choice but to say, why am I going to cite you to send you to court when you haven't gone 5 times previously? One more question.
Can you ballpark how many times she was hit?
No, just as multiple. Thank you.
All right, my royal family. I know the sound quality was poor, but we needed the information. I don't know why they didn't crank that up. That's ridiculous. But it is what it is, my royal family. So, as we continue on, let me see here. Okay, we've seen that. Now we got the last one. And we're going to hear the lawyers talk and Miss Welch as well.
Crump, along with attorney Chris O'Neill, our law firm has the privilege of representing Miss Corinda Welch in this most unfortunate matter. Last Friday, Miss Welch was in the car with her 2 sons, and she was arrested on an outstanding warrant for a minor traffic violation. And what happened next is simply outrageous. She was taken to the Jacksonville Sheriff's Detention Center, and after being called racial slurs, she was handcuffed by the wrist, shackled by the ankles in a 4-point restraint, and she was savagely beaten. I mean, completely defenseless. She was beaten by a certified Jacksonville Sheriff's deputy, while other deputies watched this immoral, illegal abuse of excessive force. Now, you're going to hear from Ms. Welch in a few minutes, but we are here to announce that we will be filing motions and complaints for public records to be released. Any and all video surveillance of this excessive force encounter needs to be released. We're here to announce today that there will be a filing of a public records lawsuit to make sure that any and all video of this illegal excessive force encounter be released to the public immediately. Also, we're requesting that the state attorney and the Department of Justice investigate this matter as a hate crime, because before and during this outrageous attack on this citizen, there were racial slurs being used and hurled at her, indicating what was the mentality of this officer as she assaulted and battered this 36-year-old college-educated black woman. Now, Ms. Welch is still very emotional about this. Obviously, she's in shock and disbelief. She's going to talk about the tragedy, and then we, Attorney O'Neill and I, will attempt to answer a few of your questions. Again, she's very emotional, so please bear with her as she tries to share with you this ordeal that she was not expecting at the hands of the people who were supposed to protect and serve her. Ms. Corinda Welch.
Yeah, please excuse me, I'm a little nervous. But I just want to say, when I was arrested and taken into custody, I was only thinking about my babies and getting home to them. I never thought I would be the victim of police brutality. This Officer Thompson called me Kunta Kinte several times before she put me in handcuffs at the ankles and shackles at the ankles and handcuffs at the wrist, and I complied with every one of her requests. I complied with her request to shackle me, only for her to punch me in the face and stomach over a dozen times. And I was just in disbelief. And everybody that was at work that night, they stood around and watched. They watched this happen. And then as I was defenseless on my back, I was pepper sprayed in both eyes. And all of this time, of course, worrying about my unborn child. I'm not only here today for myself and for my family, but I'm here just to prevent this from happening to anybody else, because it could be you or your family member.
I will say this, it's very important to note that this particular deputy who did this illegal, immoral brutality on this young lady was a relatively new officer. So we believe she had to be taught these things from somebody. She had to be told where you take an inmate if you don't want them to be seen by the video surveillance. And so we're also asking that the Department of Justice investigate whether there is a pattern and practice that exists at the Jacksonville Sheriff's Department of violation of constitutional rights of citizens. It is not the duty of the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office to be the judge, jury, and executioner of people who they think have committed a crime. That's why we have these courts. The judge will impose punishment, not some deputy who thinks it's okay to use racial slurs and beat a defenseless woman who's with child. So at this time, we will take a few of your questions.
What's your reaction to JSO's response in this case, immediately, almost immediately firing and arresting this officer?
Well, certainly we think that that was the first step. However, it's about proper training and prevention. It's about making sure that you don't be reactive, but you're proactive. And in this particular situation, with this relatively young officer, who did she learn this from? You know, what veteran officers or administration was there to say, this is where we take people in this particular room when we don't want it on video surveillance? That's something that a young officer would not know. And so those are the questions that we endeavor to answer so this won't be swept under the rug, and next year we'll be having another reactionary response once we see another outrageous instance of excessive force.
What are you hoping to see on this surveillance video?
Well, the best thing is, you know, sunshine is a good disinfectant. So you want it transparent. You want to see everything that happened. You want to see, because a picture is worth 1,000 words, and certainly video is worth 1,000,000. And so if we see with our own eyes what took place, then we will know that what Miss Welch encountered may not have been something that was out of the blue. If you can see people on that video just watching it happen, and almost as if it's business as usual. It's a part of a normal thing that takes place. How many other people have suffered excessive force at the hands of Jacksonville Sheriff's Department but didn't have the courage to come forward?
Mr. Crump, would that then follow a lawsuit depending on what you find?
Certainly. We intend to make sure that any and all violations that were suffered to her in lieu of her constitutional rights as an American citizen to have full due process of the law, that we will bring those matters to bear. Because one of the things, if you don't do anything, forgive me, one of the things that is very important, if you don't do anything about this, if you don't make an example out of this, then we know from history that it will be done again and again. And as Ms. Welch said, next time it may be you or one of your loved ones.
How confident are you that you're actually going to get this video?
Well, you know, the good thing about the public and the demand of the media, if the video is there, what do you have to hide? Why not release the video? I mean, if you're doing the right thing, do the right thing. Show the citizens of Duval County, the citizens of the state of Florida, and the citizens all over America now who are watching and learning about this terrible miscarriage of justice. Show them that you're really trying to do the right thing and be completely transparent and make this a teachable moment.
If in fact in the video it shows that there were other people working at the time witnessing this, then what would you call for JSO to do to them as well as the consequence?
Well, I think there's policies and procedures within JSO what officers are supposed to do when they witness a crime being committed, and I would encourage them to follow their policies. Okay?
Your client has let us know that she's unhappy with the charges and the level. As her attorney, is well with a similar demand on that?
Well, that's why we said we're requesting that the state attorney, as well as the Department of Justice, investigate this matter as a hate crime, because if there were racial slurs hurled at her as she was being assaulted and battered, and they were of a nature that could not be misconstrued as anything but racist, then certainly those matters need to be charged appropriately. Whatever would have happened to Ms. Welch had the situation been reversed should also be done to a police officer who breaks the law. Nobody is above the law.
Have you reached out to Ms. Nelson's office yet, the state attorney?
Now, we have correspondence coming to both them and Attorney General Jefferson Sessions. Yes. Is there any other questions? If not, thank you all so much. And we'll keep you posted on when we do the letter and we'll get it out to you. Thank you.
All right, my royal family. So, this is what I'm curious about. Let's say I'm about 90% sure that this guard, Catherine Thomas, is white. 21 years old. I even tripped off of this. And all the things that happened to Miss Welch, they let this guard have full range to beat the living hell out of her, to shackle her, and they watched all of it. And they're hiding her mugshot. I didn't look high and low, and I'm pretty good at finding out things. And like I said, eventually we're going to find out if this guard, unquote, is white. I'm not surprised by this. Like I said, and I say it often, every millisecond somebody is doing something foul to the royal family. And this country is based on violence. This country soil is soaked with our blood and sweat. You know, it's not easy being chosen, because we are the most despised, the most hated on the planet. And anytime we get in the rim of the beast, they act on their nature. They act on their nature, my royal family. And I don't really have a lot to say. It's just like, you report these, you know, we do a lot of research. We do a lot of research. And some of the articles that I encounter, they're so brutal and so foul and so disgusting that it takes too much from my soul, and I can't let it get to me like that. Now, it is very necessary that we continue to beat on the beast and show the beast's behavior. Oh yeah, I'm all for participating in the age of exposure. But we'll just see in due time. I'm going to monitor this real close because, again, I can't find that mugshot. And you think all type of things. Even though they claim they was quick to fire this person because they were still in a probationary period and they don't have any protection. But you know, in this system, they'll come up with some protection real quick if it's one of them. Now, they did say that she called her Kunta Kinte, and that's another indicator that it is possibly the beast that did Miss Welch in this fashion. So anyway, my royal family, I thank you. Render your voice with your beautiful divine words. I thank you for your love. I thank you for your support. And with that said, Ashe.